Everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.
Hey everybody, it's me, Nancy Gianni, and we are here at the NDSC conference in where? Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. It's a little hot here, I'm not gonna lie.
A little bit.
And we're so excited to have Franco, the Gigi, and a special guest from our Querétaro, Mexico location. So I'm very excited to hear everything about her. I don't know much about her, I just met her. So let's do an intro and give us your background, give us your story.
All right, so my name is Cassandra Drake. I'm actually a university professor at CSU Stanislaus in California's Central Valley. If I go backwards, I guess where my journey in being part of Gigi's community started was I was in the San Diego region, and I was getting my PhD in education. And I met a man from Mexico on vacation. We started dating and we were together for a few years, and then we got married.
Oh,
Yay! And so we got married in Mexico, and then married in 2019. By 2020, I was pregnant. And yes, very exciting news. And my pregnancy was great. Totally everything went well. The birth was crazy, actually. My son was born in the bathtub at a Hyatt.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yes way. In Tijuana.
No!
Yes.
So was he early, or was that expected, unexpected?
Good
How
question.
did that go? Oh my
Good
gosh.
question. So we had planned to go to a local hospital and have a midwife and a doula attend the birth. And we wanted to be in that area so that they could attend to us a few days after the birth until we went home.
Sure.
And so we drove as I'm having contractions, drove to the hotel to drop off our stuff. And I was sitting in a wheelchair in the lobby, and my contractions were 5 minutes apart.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I don't know if this is going to go well.
This baby wants to make his way into this world.
Exactly. So my midwife said, go upstairs, get in the bathtub. The warm water will be great. You'll feel better. We're almost there. So I did just what she said. Went upstairs. Contractions were going, but the bathtub was amazing. They have bathtubs here. Have you tried it yet? They're so nice. So anyways, I love bathtubs.
Yes.
And so my midwife and doula came, and they were like, look, if we move you from here, you might have the baby in the car. And I said, I'm not going anywhere.
No.
Mm-mm. So within 4 hours, my son was born.
Oh.
Totally healthy, wonderful labor. He was doing work with me, trying to get out. So there was nothing in my mind that would tell me that my child was atypical at all. Like he was a strong, healthy baby, right? And so that was July 28th, and September 20-something, my pediatrician said,
wow, a month later.
Yeah, a month later, he said to us, like, I'm not an expert. I need you to go to a genetic expert. But I see a few characteristics, and I want you to know that I think your child has Down syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
All in Spanish, of course.
Right.
And my husband and I were like, what do we do? What do we do? And he said, take him home and love him.
Wow.
That's a pediatrician.
That's the right kind of doctor.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So that started my journey with DSDN, the Down Syndrome Diagnostics Network, because that's the vision is like positive, non-biased diagnoses,
Totally,
right? And so that's so important because our
100%.
kiddos, our people with Down syndrome are highly capable, just different, right? Just a little extra.
Yes.
So that's where we started.
Wow.
My son is a dual citizen. He's
so cool.
Mexican and U.S.
Love it.
And so as we started like progressing through his health care, he did have to have open heart surgery. He's great. He's doing wonderful. But we started I'd have to drive him across the border to go to things. And then we found out about Gigi's Playhouse in San Diego. And so we went to some of the events. We participated in the Gigi Fit. I think it was last year's.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, and so great. But through all of this, my husband does not have a visa. So of course we got married, we got all of our paperwork going, we started the process, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
It
my
does.
Gosh, yes.
And so I started really struggling because I work full time, and then I was trying also, my husband full time takes care of our son, but I was also trying to get him across the border to be able to participate and be part of the Down syndrome community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were going to Gigi's, but it was 2.5 hours to get him to Gigi's.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And by the time he got there, he was just grouchy.
Yes.
And he was
exhausted.
2,
Right.
so it was really hard. So he would cry, and then I would cry, and we would cry and drive home.
Right.
And so we just decided last summer that we wanted to make a change. We saw the 10-year anniversary when you went to Mexico.
Last August,
Celebrate
yes.
their anniversary. And my husband and I, we just kind of talked about it, and we thought, you know what, if we have to be in Mexico while we're waiting for the green card, we wanted to be somewhere where we had access to not only great, amazing, free programming, right,
Yes.
but also a community.
Totally.
And we were really missing that where we were living.
You're giving me goosebumps.
So that's
what Gigi's is all about. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. So we decided we would move to Querétaro, and we did. And we've been there since April. And my son is now going to therapies there.
Yay. Oh my gosh, their sensory room is amazing. That playhouse is amazing. And now they've taken over the space next door, I heard. So they've doubled their space. I know. So it's going to be even more so. But you also help, I guess, on the Educator Symposium.
Exactly. Okay.
Which is amazing.
Right. So as part of my job I'm a teacher educator.
Okay.
So I train new teachers. I used to actually teach.
Okay.
I taught first grade, fifth grade, seventh grade math. And so when I was, in the thick of the Down syndrome community, which it's a great place to be, I decided I really wanted to learn more from my identity as an educator.
Totally.
Like, how can I
Yes.
support children and people with Down syndrome in their journey of learning? So I asked my dean of my school, I wanted to come to NDSC, and this was in 2022, New Orleans. And so I got all set up, and I went to the New Orleans NDSC. And I went to I'm pointing because it's over there this time, the Educator Conference.
Yes.
So I sat through that whole conference. It was wonderful. And then I went into the exhibit hall, and that's where I met Sherry.
Oh, great. Okay.
Your national education manager.
Yes.
And so she and I got to talking, and I said, she said, we have a symposium. It's fully online. We do it twice a year.
It's amazing.
Which I love because, my students love online learning.
Yes.
And teachers who are busy people.
Yeah.
It's very accessible to anyone and everyone.
Yep.
And so the first time I listened to and went to online the symposium, and y'all introduced and everything, and it was just so lovely. I remember sitting with my son, who was, less than a year old at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And I was crying. I was watching the symposium crying because
Oh my
the
gosh.
thought of teachers getting that rich, accurate, well-researched information, it's just so impactful.
So impactful.
So when I met Sherry, I said, I really want to make sure that, I want to provide this as an opportunity to my students. I offer extra credit.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so, if you missed an assignment, but here's the Gigi Symposium.
That's amazing.
And write a summary about what you learned. And
my
so then as Sherry and I got to talking more, I saw on the flyer how there are universities that are associated, partners,
Yes.
where people can actually earn
Their CPU
professional-
credits. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, the units. And so I reached out to Sharon again, and I was like, you know what? I really want to do this. I want my university to partner with y'all so that we can actually start offering units. Because you can't,
So awesome.
you can't offer extra credit to teachers.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
yeah. And so that's why I started working with Sherry last spring. And
That
so
is
for
awesome.
that spring 24 symposium, now my university is on the flyer.
Oh my gosh.
Logos on there, CSU Stanislaus.
That's
and so
awesome.
anyone in California who's an educator who attends can get those units towards their professional development.
That is huge. That is huge. And we need to get more universities and more places doing that. But I have to tell you this. The first time I listened to the entire Educator Symposium, I was driving somewhere. So I had it in my car and I was listening. I learned, Gigi was at the time 20. And it brought so many things back. I learned so much, even for her at 20 years old, of things that I'm going to put back into her routine, into her schedule, because we have to think about the way that our kids learn.
Exactly.
And when we teach them the way they learn, the results are incredible. So I watched it again, and I'm like, I can't believe 20 years later, 60 playhouses. We have 60 playhouses, and I'm still learning. I know, which is amazing. So Educator Symposium, to me, is one of the most important things we can do as parents and as educators, as siblings, to go in there and watch that, because you learn everything about our kids by the most amazing people. We're so blessed by the people that help us put those together. So that is amazing. And I have to ask you, so our podcast is called A Little Something Extra. What do you think is your A Little Something Extra?
Oh gosh, what is my little something extra?
What motivates you to want to change the world?
Now it's my son. It's all about my son.
I get that.
And the lady
Of
who
course.
started Gigi's, right? Like they inspire us to make the world better for them.
Absolutely.
But prior to having my son, it was just literally equity, inclusion. I'm an educator and I always have been.
Yes.
And so I believe everyone deserves a space in a school system, in wherever that is, but children deserve an education that is free, fair, equitable, inclusive, and we need all sorts of people in our classrooms, not just typically developing children.
Totally.
So I think
Bam!
that
is your something extra.
Truest statement you could possibly say. That's the number one way that we're going to be able to have people be able to get that exposure and understanding of people that may be a little different than them, and they'll then come to realize that they're not really that different after all.
not different at all. Exactly.
And I know, Gigi, you have a question.
If you had one message to the world, what would it be?
We are not all the same, and that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. If we were all the same, it would be a really boring place.
Right.
And so those of us who are a little bit extra,
Yes.
we can learn so much from those friends, from those people. And so that's what I would say. I would encourage people, don't be afraid of difference, embrace it, because it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I love it.
Amazing message to the world.
Thank you for that
Couldn't agree more.
question. I love that.
Do you have anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I guess what I would say is, if you're a teacher, please attend the Educator Symposium. You will learn so much. I myself, what I took away from it as a mother is how my child learns, which is, kind of multiple modalities. Like, I'm teaching him monkey, and so I show him a picture of a monkey and a stuffed animal monkey and a monkey on the TV. Right. And so that's one of the things that I learned, is like having multiple representations of whatever you are learning is one of those great ways. And then for teachers as well, I would say, even if you don't have a child with Down syndrome currently in your classroom, the strategies that you will learn in the Educator Symposium are applicable to not just people with Down syndrome.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
Helps you out with understanding how children with autism learn, and we often in our community have that dual diagnosis, so that's good too. But the reality is when you are teaching and working towards creating an inclusive classroom environment for the most marginalized students in your classroom, you're also helping other students as well.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's very, very important, because when we are making sure that our students that need supports, need modifications, are getting those things from us, those other students are benefiting too. And what I love about Gigi's Educator Symposium, I've been to other education conferences where I ask questions about learning for children with Down syndrome. And at one I asked, because my son's first language is Spanish.
Yes.
Obviously I speak English, so he's bilingual. And so I asked, what kind of resources do you have in terms of children with Down syndrome learning and being bilingual? Because the entire conference that I was at was all about teaching them in English. And the answer was, I haven't really seen anything about that. I don't know that exists. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. Yes.
And so what I love about Gigi's Educator Symposium is there's no I don't think that exists.
Right. It's like, if it's not here, we will build it, we'll make it happen, and we're doing that in the virtual playhouse.
There you go.
Yep. It's happening right now as we speak.
Love it.
Yes.
I messaged the folks that were running And they came back to me with an email like a week or so later with resources on bilingual children, like research.
Oh, awesome. Yes.
And so like that's the thing is like Gigi's there's no I don't think so. They will find the answer.
Awesome.
And they did for me. And so that's another reason why I'm like so invested.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So invested in your playhouse and what you all are doing for everybody.
Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for being here. Oh my gosh. And there you have it. Another episode of A Little Something Extra, NDSC Conference Time.
2024.
2024. Peace out. Everybody is born with a little something extra, and sometimes they just have to find it. A little something extra is that superpower that every single one of us has inside that motivates us and drives our passion and makes us do the things that we do.
We're all on the same team. Let's think about how we can make that team as inclusive as we can.
For those of you listening to our podcast right now, you can also check out our video podcast at alittlesomethingextrapodcast.org.